Right, hello everyone. Today I would like to talk about the movie Alien Romulus, which I watched just last week. I know this video is a little bit late. Everybody's already talked about this video, about this movie. Sorry, a couple of months ago when it came out, but I just missed it. I've been busy. In fact, I haven't made, as you may have noticed, I haven't made a YouTube video in probably about 2 months. Been very busy. Missed it at the cinema. It's just come out on Amazon Prime. And I rented it for £15. Watched it last week, and great movie. Enjoyed it. This video will be full of spoilers, so if you haven't seen the movie, I do recommend you go and watch it, and then come back and have a listen. But yeah, £15 to rent a movie. £15. Like, what is? I mean, I probably shouldn't go on a major tangent right at the beginning of this video, but I do feel like I should, because it does seem to me that the movie situation that we had before all these streaming services was actually superior to what we have now. In that, before the rise of Netflix and Amazon Prime and all the other services, we had Blockbuster Video, right? And if you wanted to rent a movie, you go and you rent a movie for about £5, and Blockbuster would give you basically every single movie that's ever been made. And you'd be able to get whatever you wanted. You might have to order it. It might take some time to come through, but they'd have it. These days, the movie does come out on streaming. You can watch it at home on your big screen. I've got a 55-inch TV, and that's kind of cool. That's kind of fun. But you're getting charged £15 for it. You're getting charged more, and in addition to that, I mean, of course, I know, like inflation, everything's gone up, etc., etc. But still, I do think it's a very steep price, right? I don't remember new movies being extra expensive when Blockbuster was around. I just think it's a very steep price, and if you buy it, you've got it on you don't actually own the physical copy. Amazon's got the physical copy. It's like on your account, so it's like permanently rented, so you don't have this home ownership thing going on. But also, it just seems I've tried to use Amazon Prime many times to find various different movies. I was actually just trying to find I think a Woody Allen one. Funny enough, I know he's like a Jewish pervert who's married his daughter and whatever, but nonetheless, he made some good movies. I think I was trying to find one the other day, and they didn't have it. So you don't actually have access to all the movies in the world. In fact, for a long time, I was trying to find... Remember that guy, the Pepe guy? The original artist who made Pepe. And obviously, of course, 4chan took Pepe, transformed it into the Pepe that we all know and love now. And then this guy came along and he copyrighted Pepe. And they made a whole documentary about it. I think the documentary is called That Feels Good or something like that, which of course was in the original Pepe comic. Anyway, I wanted to watch it. I thought, oh, this is curious. Let's see what this guy's got to say. Couldn't get it on Amazon Prime. Couldn't get it anywhere. I had to end up watching it on some dodgy website on the internet where they stream free movies, right? Some illegal website. And I would have paid money for it. I would have paid money so I could watch it on my big 55-inch TV instead of huddled up on my laptop. To be honest with you, like Pirate Bay and all of that stuff, that's like, for me personally, that's just like the old days, because I've watched hundreds of movies that I downloaded from Pirate Bay like 10 years ago or whatever. But I watched them all sat on my laptop, huddled up, small screen, and I just don't want to do that anymore. I want to watch it on the big screen, high resolution, and I'm willing to pay for it, but the corporations, Amazon, for whatever, they're not able to supply me with this service. They don't have a complete catalogue of movies. You can't just rent all the films from them. It's because of this stupid streaming war. It's like they're in competition with each other, but it's not benefiting us, really. You know, Netflix, Disney, Amazon, they're competing with each other, but we don't seem to be getting any reward from this. You know, whereas, for example, when supermarkets compete with each other, it's good for the consumer. This streaming competition that's going on just seems to it's created a situation where you kind of like have to subscribe to multiple different streaming platforms to watch the movies that you want to watch, you know. So it kind of sucks. Anyway, that's just a little complaint at the beginning. I mean, compare it to Spotify, right? I love Spotify. Some people out there hate it. I don't know why. I think Spotify is like probably one of the greatest apps, you know, phone apps of the 21st century. Like, you've got all the music on there. One of my favorite pastimes is to read the website rateyourmusic.com, which is like peak music nerd website, and they've got all the different genres and the greatest albums ever made, and you know, all kinds of, there's a community there, and they talk about the albums and blah 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 blah. I've found so much great music on this website. Really, it's just blown my mind. If you're into music, you got to go on that website and just start digging around. You'll find some great you'll find a lot of trash as well, because the people that are on the website, they're kind of nerdy people. And so they're into death metal, and there is some of the music's just like a little bit kooky and weird. But if you just skip that, you can find some really great music on that website. And you know, you scroll through the website and you press the button, and Spotify opens up. You can listen to the album straight away, boom, like that, for £10 a month. You know, it's great. I mean, it's just fantastic for the consumer. Why can't I do this with movies? Now, of course, movies cost a lot more money to make, so the whole situation is different. But nonetheless, anyway, it's just a little complaint for you at the beginning of this video that, man, £15 to rent a movie, right? I mean, £15 to go to the cinema, fine, but to rent a movie at home, I just think it's too much, to be honest with you. And I'm just annoyed with these streaming services that I can't watch all the films that I want to watch. But anyway, moving on, let's talk about Alien Romulus, science fiction horror film directed by Fede Alvarez, written by him and another guy. So Fede Alvarez was a director. He's from Uruguay, and he directed Don't Breathe, you know, that famous 2016 movie with the monsters, and they hear you and whatever. It was okay. I kind of enjoyed it. It was kind of, I don't know, it was kind of silly, but it was okay. But so he's written and directed this movie, and again, good movie. Enjoyed it. It's not really doing anything original. It's not really changing the franchise. It's rehashing a lot of ideas that have already been done. But nonetheless, put together in quite a coherent way, and in that it's entertaining. I'll probably watch it again at some point in the future. It's entertaining. It's mid, essentially. It's not terrible. Like, actually, to be fair, people say that Prometheus was terrible, and it kind of was, because it was all messy. It had a lot of stupid elements in it. In that, one of the features of the Alien franchise is that what you have to understand is it is a slasher movie in space, essentially. And what I mean by that, well, the old school slasher genre is a horror genre, which, as far as I understand, it started with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And then, of course, you have Halloween. Halloween's probably the classic one. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre introduced the idea of a masked villain, you know, just killing, I think they were hitchhikers or something. But it's always teenagers, you know, they're killing teenagers. There's a group of them. They know each other. They're on holiday. They're doing something illicit. Maybe they have a secret in the past that, like, somebody had sex with somebody last summer or something like this. And anyway, they go into a cabin in the woods somewhere, and there's a masked man out there, and he kills them one by one, you know? That is the slasher, basically the slasher idea. And this is what Alien is. It's essentially, it's a monster. You have a group of people, it picks them off one by one. Prometheus kind of wrecked that, because they had an ensemble, because the slasher is by its very nature an ensemble film, in that you have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 characters, and they die one by one, and you're like, oh my god, who's going to die next? don't go down that corridor into the dark, this kind of thing. Prometheus mucked it up because they had a large group of people on the spaceship and you didn't know their names. They had extras, right? In a slasher movie, you should not have extras. It's a huge no-no. And off the top of my head, you remember when one of the guys, he gets infected and he disappears for the night? I realize I'm talking about Prometheus now, not Romulus. But anyway, this is another stupid part of the film. Like they go into the bug thing. The guy they get lost there in the underground cave for the night. They can't come back because there's a storm, and the black dude, like the captain of the ship, who's supposed to, there's nobody at the helm watching and listening to them. They're literally being killed by aliens, and the entire crew has just gone to sleep and is ignoring them. It's just so utterly unprofessional and stupid. But whatever. I mean, the next day he turns up at the airlock, and he's basically an alien zombie, and there's a fight in the airlock, and he kills two guys, and then the she-boss woman burns him with a flamethrower or whatever. However it is, she kills him. But the point I'm driving at is, who are those two guys? They were just extras. And it utterly ruins the emotional impact of the film. So, I mean, that for me kind of really that just made me think, oh, this is a silly film. But actually Prometheus was quite a good film because the thing about Prometheus as a movie, it was really it was about the quest for eternal life, and it was about the quest to find the answers. Where do we come from? Okay, where are we from? Who created us? Who is my alien sky daddy that created the human race? So it opened this doorway up, and I think it was very good at that. I think it was excellent at that, actually. It was very gloomy, dark, Lovecraftian, unhappy, and cataclysmic and apocalyptic, in that the alien ship was going... It was about the death of humanity, essentially. The alien ship was going back to Earth, and it was going to kill everyone. And it's like, Daddy doesn't love me. We were created by you, and now you want to kill us? What the fuck? That was what the whole movie was about. And so they messed up the slasher element of it a little bit. But they pulled that off. I mean, it was a flawed movie, though. It was a deeply flawed movie, because we should have got to hear the engineer speak. They went into the room with the engineer, they woke him up, and this is it. This is what the whole movie is about. Building up to this point. We're finally there. The old man, Wayland, is there. And they did record him speaking. They had the language, they had everything. And the engineer explained that they created the human race, and yet they decided that we're too violent and they wanted to wipe us out. And the Wayland guy asks him, I want to live forever. And he's like, why? Who are you that you should live forever? But they didn't put that in the movie. They scrubbed it out. So instead, they just wake up the engineer, and he's this big, 7 foot tall, 8 foot tall man, and he just looks at them and kills them, storms off, just like a dumb brute, essentially. So it's like they got scared, right? They blinked, right? They blinked. Maybe, I mean, they did put a whole Jesus narrative in there, and that the engineer sent one of their own, and they crucified him. I mean, that's cringe. They shouldn't have done that. So maybe that's why they cut it. But they blinked. They should have brought the engineer character out, and they didn't. And so it's it's a flawed movie, but still a very gloomy and psychotic and good movie and philosophical movie. This movie doesn't make that mistake, though. It doesn't make the mistake of having extras. It's a very straightforward slasher movie, and so it's much better in that regard. But it doesn't have any of the philosophical underpinnings, which makes it disappointing. It doesn't reach above into any kind of higher ideal, and I think it could have done. I really do. And I think I do feel it's like it's a little bit of a missed opportunity, because when I first saw the trailer, when I first saw the trailer, I saw the trailer and it was these young people getting into a spaceship, going up to some space station to either escape from something or to steal something. I wasn't quite sure, but whatever it was they were doing, it was very clear that they were kind of rebelling against the system. So you had this youthful rebellion element, which is not something that I've seen the Alien franchise explore yet, right? So Ripley, originally, she was just a space trucker, a working class woman, and then you've got the Marines, the colonists, and then you've got Wayland and his scientists. They're doing the science angle. Here you've got a new angle. You've got young, rebellious teenagers who are saying, like, fuck you to the corporation in some way. I just don't think they nailed it hard enough. I think they could have reached above into a higher kind of idealism. Essentially, I wanted to hear a speech. I wanted to hear one of these young people saying, fuck the Wayland Corporation, fuck this mining colony that we're on. They're just killing us. They don't care about us. They're only interested in money. Like kind of like up the revolution kind of thing. So something like that. Or they could have made more about this. Like they were planning to go to this planet. The whole idea was that they wanted to run off to some, what's it called, Yvarga. Yeah, they wanted to run off to some paradise planet called Yvarga. I mean, it was kind of cool. They had a dream sequence where she sees the sunrise. Okay. But they could have made a bit more of it. Like, Yvarga is... Like, it could have been... like the quest for the promised land, right? Israel. Yvarga is Israel. Okay? It's Zion. I know that's a bit of a cliche, but you know what I mean? Like, we will escape. Us, youthful, young teenagers. Fuck Wayland Corporation. We're going to go up there. We're going to steal this thing. We're going to escape. I mean, that was there. I just don't think they drew it out enough. Okay? I was disappointed. Because, I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself, but as you know, the plot is they find the alien. Like, some drone ship finds the alien from the first movie, floating in space, bring it back, open it up, blah, blah, blah. And then you've got Rain and her android. They find out they're condemned to stay on this mining world. And then she's like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Got no money. And then, they have the meeting in the ship. Like, and then they're invited to go on this mission. And they could have made more of it. That would have been the time. Now, one of the characters, it was good that they had like an English working class character in the film, by the way. Because there is an Englishness to the movie in that the Wayland Corporation is actually headquartered in London. And obviously Ridley Scott is English, So they had an English character, which I thought was good. But he just says, in a very flat kind of way, like, all our parents died. Whereas they could have had a bit more of a rant. I'm just saying this because, like, one of my favourite cyberpunk movies, obviously, is Akira. Brilliant movie. And Akira is a romance. Well, Akira is many things, but one of the things it is a romance set against a revolution. And so you have this very idealistic young lady who's in love with an older man, and they're trying to rebel against the Japanese government for whatever reason. And obviously the hero of the movie, I forget his name, but you know the guy, red jacket, red motorbike, right? He falls in love with her, but he's completely not interested in politics at all. He just fancies this young girl. And so you have the idealism of the young girl with her revolutionary spirit, like some kind of like Marxist, that whole Marxist, the people rise up, that kind of vibe. Fuck the system. And then his kind of like, he grounds her, he brings her down in the end. Many things happen in that movie, but I just, for whatever reason, I've always found that kind of like a romance set against the backdrop of great civil discord to be enticing. It reminds me of that Russian movie. I think it's Dr. Zhivago. The doctor's. It's been a long time since I've seen it, but I just remember he's in love with this girl, and then all of this chaos happens, and they're just trying to be happy while the world burns. Like there's a scene at the end of the movie where they find some old deserted house, and they just kind of like move in there, and they're just trying to like scrape by, and oh man, and then in the end, like he sees her, doesn't he, from a train, but he sees her in the crowd, he runs after her, he can't find her, he dies of a heart attack in the street. Like it's a tragic film, but very beautiful. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is I wanted youthful rebellion, and I just didn't really get it. I just didn't really get what I really, really wanted. And also, one of the things that really bugged me about the movie really early on was just this mining colony that they had. It's just stupid because they put up a text on the screen that says population 2,700. I actually went back and double checked this because I thought it was so stupid. So the population of this mining colony is supposed to be 2,700 people, but it doesn't look like a colony of 2,700 people. It has the vibe of a big dystopian city, in that she's walking down the street and there's people on the street, hustle and bustle, and nobody seems to know anybody else. And with a population of 2,700, that just would not exist. With a population of 2,700, it would be like the second movie, Aliens. Everyone would basically know everybody else. It would be a small village vibe. I mean, case in point, her android basically gets mugged or beaten up for whatever reason while she is in this bureaucratic office trying to get her permission to go off world, to go to a different colony, right? The promised land, right? That just wouldn't happen in a village of 2,700 people, right? I mean, first of all, the whole bureaucracy thing, it wouldn't work like that because you would be able to go straight up to you'd know the guy that's running the place, you'd know them, and secondly, the android wouldn't get mugged on the street by a bunch of teenagers. So it doesn't make sense. It has the big city vibe, and I think they missed an opportunity to create a proper cyberpunk mining city, and they should have done it and fleshed it out a little bit more, because they haven't done that yet. The first movie was just people in space. The second movie, you had the colonists. Well, okay, we've already done that. Then you had the prison world on the third movie, then another space station, then another spaceship on Prometheus, and another one on. So it's all just like spaceships, essentially. It's all been spaceships and one space station, or one colony. They could have fleshed it out, built a horrible dystopian city, and they could have had a bunch of teenagers living there that are just like, we gotta rebel, man. We gotta get out of here. Fuck the system, man. Do you know what I mean? That's the vibe that I got when I saw the trailer. I thought, oh, that's pretty cool, right? But they haven't explored that theme. So again, the movie's kind of disappointing because it's just repeating the same stuff that it's already done and not really moving the narrative on any further. I like the android. I liked Andy. Great name for an android, Andy, right? He was an interesting character. I mean, he was played quite well, like the kind of like humble, autistic, socially awkward android with his stupid jokes, following his sister around the place, quote unquote sister around the place, trying to help her like a lost puppy, and she's caring for him. But yeah, I mean, I think that was a good character, a good portrayal of the android. Certainly in a stark comparison to the evil David that we saw in Prometheus, right? Who's just psychotic, and he was actually the real bad, the bad man of that story in the end, more so than the engineers, more so than the alien itself, because he turned against its creator. I guess that's what Prometheus is kind of all about, isn't it? It's like Kronos eating his sons, and then the sons finally killed Kronos, right? So like killing your father, or your father trying to kill you, right? Because the engineers create mankind, and then the engineers try to kill mankind, and mankind ends up killing them, but mankind along the way, they create their own child, and the child kills them. So it's Kronos gives birth to Zeus, Zeus gives birth to us people, right? And we're waging war against each other. So interesting movie. I guess that's the peak, that's the pinnacle, isn't it? That's the end result, isn't it? David, right? That's the ugly face. That's evolution's final form, David, who seems to be the only one who's able to actually master the alien, interestingly enough, right? Because that's another theme. I mean, this is another theme in the entire franchise, which is man against nature. It's like Moby Dick, right? Ahab trying to kill the whale, can't overcome it with all of his technology and his wisdom. It's just it's a beast. It's out there. It's uncontrollable, and it's a killer. In a similar way, the entire Alien franchise is about mankind in space, colonizing space, trying to reach up into the stars, into the heavens, and discovering something dark and old and mysterious. Essentially discovering a monster in space. I mean, that's what it is. It's like the I forget what that creature's called, the Shoggoth, I think, from Lovecraft and Mountains of Madness. I mean, that's what the alien is. It's a Lovecraftian demon, right? But it's like Lord of the Rings, awakening the Balrog, you know? Because the thing is, like, you're going into space, and you're in the heavens. It's like, it's very weird, because it's like simultaneously you're in the heavens, and simultaneously it's like you're underground, because it's dark, you know? And the underground theme is a strong theme for nightmares. Obviously, like I said, Lovecraft, Mountains of Madness. I don't know why Hollywood hasn't made this into a movie yet. If you haven't read the book, you have to read it. But in Lovecraft, they go to the Arctic and they find the Mountains of Madness, and it's this ancient city, and it's been there for thousands of years. And they find out that these people actually created mankind somehow, but they were themselves killed by the Shoggoth, who they created as a servant race, but then rose up against them. And it's like this giant, blobby, slug-like killer creature. I don't even know how to describe it, you know. And then they go down into a cave, and then it comes for them, right? So they go down into the cave, and it comes for them, right? Kind of like, in a similar way, Lord of the Rings. The Hobbit goes into a cave, he finds the ring, and then they end up going to a cave again, and they awaken the Balrog. There's something deep in the human subconsciousness about going into caves and finding monsters, essentially, is the kind of point I'm making. And even in the Alien movie, they're going into a cave. Like in the first one, you go watch the movie, he sees the eggs and he has to descend. He has to abseil down, and then he gets, you know, raped by an egg, by a face hugger. So what was the point I was making? Basically, I was talking about David. David was the only one that managed to actually master the alien, right? He's the only one that beat it, really, in the end, because you got that scene in I forget the name of the movie, the one that came after Prometheus, where, you know, there's the girl, she wanders off by alone, typical slasher stuff, right? They've crashed on the planet, the thing's blown up, they can't get off the planet, David rescues them, they go back to his murky cave, he says, oh, you'll be safe here, and the girl, like the hot girl with the big tits, she's like, oh, I'm just gonna go and splash some water on my face, or whatever, and then the monster comes, kills her, right? But David's standing right there talking to the monster's not attacking him. Right, his creation. He's the only one that masters it. And then he himself, you know, plays with it and takes the role of the engineer, and creates another one, the xenomorph. So, yeah, it's mankind versus, it's Abe versus the whale. It's the failure of technology to deal with the monster. The only technology that works in the end is the artificial intelligence. Is David, right? So what I mean, I'm just saying that this is a theme that runs throughout the movie. It is like old tech in space. It's that's a cyberpunk vibe of you're in the future, but it's old, right? It's, I mean, one of the interesting things about the movie is that there's no warp space. There's no warp space. I looked this up, especially just to double check. But how are humans traveling through space? Because you look at the other big space operas. I mean, it feels strange to even describe Alien, the Alien franchise, as a space opera, but it kind of is, isn't it? I mean, it's people flying through space on different planets and this, that, and the other, right? But it doesn't really. It feels so much different to Star Wars and Star Trek, and Dune, even Dune, right? All of these three, obviously Star Wars came from Dune, didn't it? But these franchises use warp speed to travel around the universe, and there's kind of like an emphasis there on mankind's great technological ability to just build or to just travel faster than the speed of light. This is not explained in the Alien franchise at all. It's in the Alien franchise, warp speed is not the thing. In the Alien franchise, it's sleep. It's all about getting into your status. What do you call those things? It's cryogenetic. It's not really the word, is it? Cryostasis pod. It's about sleeping in space. Really fundamentally different to Dune. And well, I mean, the Dune's kind of mystical in that you're under spice and you need to hallucinate to know where you're going to fly the spaceship to. So that's got like a bit of a dreamy, mystical element to it, I suppose. But Star Wars and Star Trek is just like gung ho, press the button, engage, warp speed, off you go. In the Alien franchise, if you want to travel through space, you have to sleep because it's going to take a really long time, and it's not fully explained. Like, do they reach the speed of light, or do they go faster than it? It's not really explained at all. But nonetheless, you sleep. You go into space and you sleep, and the alien is, of course, the nightmare in your sleep, right? And the alien is the threat of what happens to you when you sleep, because you've got to go into a pod. Not only are you sleeping, you're essentially in a cage. Right, you've got to close that pod and it's locked, and how are you going to get out? You don't know. You know what I mean? And you're dependent on the android that's watching over you, and you don't know what bugs are slithering around on the floor and how they're going to break in and what they're going to do to you in your sleep. But it is a dream. I mean, even you see the dream theme. You see the dream theme in the movie in Prometheus, because the android watching over them, David, is watching the dreams of, I think, of the blonde girl. I forget which one, but I know he's watching somebody's dreams. I remember, we do have a brief dream sequence at the beginning of this film where she's looking at the promised land. But the point I make is, it's the point I was trying to make about the warp speed. Apart from the fact that you're sleeping in space, okay, it's nightmare, because space is the dark, right? All of the spaceships are gloomy in this movie. There's no bright lights in this movie, but you're going through the night. You're sleeping through the night, right? You don't get that vibe from Star Trek or Star Wars at all. But apart from that element, what I'm trying to make the point that the technology of mankind is minimized by the alien. Yes, you've got an android, and yes, you've got a spaceship, but you don't have laser guns, and you don't have fancy tech like, I don't know, in a superhero movie. There's no gadgets in this movie. Oh, I guess they got the the boop 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 motion detector. And then in this movie they got a heat signal. So I mean, there's tech, there's a little bit of tech, but it's kind of low tech. They're shooting each other with bullets, not laser guns. There's no like anti-gravity weapon. So the technology fails and the alien beats the technology is the point I'm making. You end up fighting a war against nature and nature wins. You think you're clever with your big spaceship flying through space, colonizing the stars, but you've woken up a demon and now it's chasing you and it's hunting you and it's going to kill you. And, you know, its blood is made of acid, which is its key factor again and again in every single movie. You're dealing with a walking acid bomb that even if you do kill it, it might kill you in the process because it's going to blow a hole in the hull, you know? I mean, just as a side note, the alien would not look that scary if it was fought in a desert world, like Dune, right? Or Star Wars. Same thing, right? Star Wars was developed from Dune, also on a desert world. We've never seen different worlds. I mean, there's another complaint. It's always just a mining colony. Again, mining, underground, you know. But it's always a mining colony in space somewhere and it's all dark. Like why can't they do something? Why can't we have the alien in a jungle like the Predator movie? That'd be cool. Imagine that. We've got a research facility on, you know, planet XYZ, and an alien has break. They could reverse the roles. Instead of it being a slasher movie, it could be a hunter movie, like the Predator, right? Again, well, we said the Predators, they're being hunted by. So it's kind of like that, something like that, or something like, I don't know, Jurassic Park or something, hunting the Tyrannosaurus Rex. But they could be like, you could send in the crack team of hunters to try and track down this escaped xenomorph in the jungle. But the xenomorph, of course, turns on them and picks them off one by one or something like that. I don't know. But we've never seen a xenomorph in a jungle, have we? We've never seen it on an ice world, on a mountain, and we've never seen it in a desert. And it wouldn't be very scary in a desert. I guess it would go beneath the sand, and you see it coming out of the sand. That would be how it would work. But it certainly wouldn't be as scary. And by the way, I mean, just to demystify the whole thing, like the xenomorph is well, anyway, just the point I was making is that part of the reason why the xenomorph is so scary is because they keep fighting it in like the worst possible place to fight it, which is on a spaceship. Okay? And so the whole franchise is about mankind's technology failing to overcome the monster. That's why you don't have an emphasis on big tech in the franchise. There's no warp drive. There's no through the sky kind of magic tech. Because as soon as mankind manages to get that magic tech, the scariness of the alien will be gone. It won't be as frightening anymore. Because mankind would have mastered it. Like a gravity gun, that would be a great thing. Like you just go, you grab it, can't move, you crush it. Or you develop some kind of material that doesn't get burned by the acid, and then you make a suit of armor out of it, and then you just hack the alien to pieces. And then the alien's not scary at all. It's only really scary because the tech fails. You know what I mean? So, and the only piece of tech that does manage to beat it is David. But David hates humanity. So anyway, that's just one of the running themes. And I was just about to say, like, if you actually do think about the alien, if you take a step back and think about it, it's the thing about the xenomorph is it's sterile. It can't have children. It doesn't lay eggs. In this stupid movie, they went and they rescued the xenomorph from the original film, the first one. Ripley, of course, blew it out of an airlock, didn't she? So they went and they caught that and reverse engineered the face huggers that are in the film and reverse engineered the black goo that's in the film. It's not like the xenomorph itself was pregnant. So if you think about it, I mean, the xenomorph in the form that we recognize it is essentially, it's just a worker drone. It's infertile. So it's actually really not even that much of a threat to humanity by itself, unless there's another thing there that can lay eggs, unless there's a queen that can lay eggs, right? And it's not really explained how the Queen comes about, to be honest, is it? Because because the way they've retrofitted this whole series is the xenomorphs being created by David, and it's a particular combination of the black goo plus a human and it bursting out of a human, right? So how did we get to the Queen? I'm not really sure. It's not explained. But yeah, I mean, it's I don't know. It's just like from an evolutionary perspective, the creature's kind of dumb, right? Because you got a queen, and then the queen's got to lay an egg, and then the facehugger comes out of the egg, and then the facehugger's got to grab onto something, and then a chest, and then what takes birth from that? Well, a drone, another xenomorph, a drone, which is in itself infertile. See what I'm saying here? So it's just like, how does this thing breed and grow, and what is the function of the alien drone? What does it do? Is it like a worker bee or worker ant? I guess it's just a it's really just a warrior, isn't it? That's all it is. It's a warrior to protect the queen, I suppose. And to capture the host, to make sure the host doesn't run away. That's all it is. It's sterile, in a way. Which is kind of interesting. I'm just saying all this because, again, one of my disappointments with the franchise is that it's not... it hasn't arrived on Earth, okay? And I'm saying this because I watched the movies back in the 90s, and yeah, 1, 2, 3. Everybody slagged off 3. I liked 3. I thought it was dark, and they did something different with it. I thought it was cool. I haven't seen it in a long time, so maybe it was terrible, but I thought it was okay. But the point was that the franchise was heading towards Earth, and the whole kind of emphasis of the first 3 movies is we cannot let this thing get to planet Earth because it will kill everything, right? And I'm disappointed with the franchise because it hasn't gone there. It didn't go there in the 90s or in the noughties. And then they've rebooted this franchise and it still hasn't gone there. They've done a retrofit. And now here we are in, what year is it? 2024. Well, we've got another Aliens movie, which has come out 6 years since the last one or whatever it is. And they still haven't, arrived on planet Earth. It's just like dithering. It's like, I don't know, man. It's like they've got this prize and they're not reaching out and taking it. Like the apple is there, the low-hanging fruit. Just take it. I want to see these things get to Earth. I want to see xenomorphs running around London or New York or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I want to see the chaos. I want to see like I don't know, man. I'm just thinking, that movie Children of Men. You could have something like that, So because they wouldn't kill everything straight away. I don't think it'd be like a zombie movie. It would take time. They'd be in the shadows, They'd be in the sewage system. They'd be in the ocean. They'd kill everything in the ocean. They'd be in the forests and what have you, in derelict buildings. And you can have this situation where like the elites are gradually leaving planet Earth, and they're all the elites, so everyone with any money is just like in a spaceship in orbit. Do you know what I mean? And they're sending troops down. They're trying to kill the xenomorphs, but it's a war. It wouldn't be like a zombie movie with a rapid collapse. No, it would be a war, an ongoing war, and the Xenos would just be there in the background, and gradually they'd be winning. And you could do like a Children of Men thing, where it's like there's one guy, he's just trying to escape from the planet with his children or whatever, something like that, That'd be a great movie, and that'd be new. That would be different. That would be something that they haven't done before. Instead, we got this, which is everything that they've done before, which is an alien on a spaceship, okay, acid for blood, better be careful, it might burn a hole in the ship, malefic android, can you trust the android or not, chest burster, girl gets grabbed by a face hugger, oh no, is she going to die, should we kill her or not, oh no, we got to take the tough moral decision, We can't. Oh no, we can't take that decision. Oh no, blah 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 blah. We've got Alien getting blown out of an airlock at the end, and then we've got human gives birth to weird alien, right? Which they did in the fourth Alien film terribly with Ripley. I mean, it was just a crap alien. This one was actually quite good. I thought at the end of the movie, it was it was alright. It looked like a engineer. Which raises interesting questions. Nasty creature, killed its own mum. At least in the Alien 4, the child of Ripley didn't kill Ripley. It loved Ripley. It loved its mother. This one was just nasty and vicious. I mean, what kind of creature eats its mother? Only spiders do that. That's why spiders are fucking horrible. Horrible creatures. Nasty things. I can't think of any other animal that eats its own mother. You know what I mean? So yeah, it's themes that have all been done before. Even the whole countdown sequence. Okay, I know I was going to tell the plot of the story. I'm just waffling all over the place, but you know how it goes. Like, they arrive, they get on the ship, they go to. By the way, it's not explained who these teenagers, like, why have they got a spaceship? Why is the flipping thing in orbit? It just floated there and nobody knows why it's there. Like Wayland Corporation just let one of their super expensive research facilities just float through space. Like, how what the fuck? It doesn't even make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It would have made more sense to say that these young guys with the spaceship, they work for Wayland, they know there's a derelict thing, they're not allowed to go there, but they think there's something on there that they can get, or they were blah, blah. You know what I mean? They could have just done it a little bit better. But anyway, so they get on the spaceship. They know it's going to crash into the asteroid belt. So now you've got 36 hours, right? They've done this in every single movie. The countdown. And then obviously, like, the chestburster comes out. Their spaceship, there's a crash, and now it's going to crash in 1 hour. You've got to get out of the spaceship. You've got 1 hour. They did this in the first film when Ripley decided to blow up her spaceship and get in the escape pod. They obviously did this in the second film with the nuclear reactor that was going to go off. They didn't do it in the third. Did they do it in the third? Not really. I guess they knew that no, not really. Let's be honest here. They didn't do it in the third. I can't remember if they did it in the fourth. But it was very prominent. Like, the countdown was very prominent in the first two movies. So they've repeated that. I mean, it's a good action sequence theme. Like, adds tension and pressure. But both the first and the second movie have the alien getting blown out of an airlock. They do this in this one again. Right? It's a repeat of that theme. And you've got another theme that all of these, I think, through almost the entire franchise they do, which is you think the alien's dead, and then it mutates again, and you've got to fight it again. So the first one, Ripley thinks she's blown the alien up, and then she realizes, no, it's actually in the escape pod, so she's got to blow it out of an airlock, right? In the second one, they think they've escaped, but then the Queen's followed them up, and they've got to fight the Queen on the spaceship, right? On the third one, you don't get that. The fourth one, I can't really remember. On Prometheus, you get it. They fly the spaceship into the engineer's ship, stop it from taking off. The engineer's ship collapses and crashes. The lady, Elizabeth Shaw, she runs off to the escape pod. She's hardly got any oxygen left. She starts breathing, and then David sends a message and says, "Oh, the aliens, the engineer's coming for you." Right? So, final boss. And then on the movie that came after Prometheus, again, they get back up to the spaceship, the colony ship, and then the alarm goes off. The alien's up there. I mean, it's not bad, but it is the same theme. It is the same idea being repeated again and again and again. I mean, I think it's kind of, in a way, boiled into... I don't know. I mean, one of the terrifying things about the alien is that it just mutates. Okay? Because one of the things about horror is that the monster is always more terrible if you don't know what it is. It's when the monster comes out of the shadows that it's kind of like stops being scary a little bit. So this is what made the first film so terrifying. In that you got the face hugger, and then you got the chest burster, and then it like turns into something, right? And then the second movie, like, you think you're dealing with the aliens, but then you go underground and there's the alien queen is there, and you're like, what the fuck is that? So the monster keeps changing and transforming. It is a franchise that is about evolution and transformation, essentially, and this has been epitomized by the black goo, which has been introduced in the Prometheus movie. And the black goo, I mean, for me, it just represents just totally psychotic, savage evolution with survival of the fittest. It's not really a substance that makes any sense, because it can do one of three things. It can either kill the host, or make the host give birth to a monster, or it can possess the host, or whatever. I mean, like, with the engineer, it just dissolved him. So we're not really exactly sure what this thing is supposed to do. But the idea is, as explained in Prometheus, the engineer's there, he drinks the black goo, and he dissolves, and essentially all life on planet Earth has come from his dissolved body and has come from the black goo. So all of the humans have got a little bit of the alien in them. Every human's got a little bit of xenomorph in it, if you think about it. And the implication being that the xenomorph is just a more primordial version of it, a less evolved, I suppose. Less evolved, less idealistic. No emotions, no civilization, doesn't create technology, whatever. But it's a like the entire franchise is all about sex and evolution. The face hugger itself is about rape, right? Because that's what it is. It's sticking its dick in your mouth, essentially, right? I don't know, it's kind of weird, because it's kind of like it kind of looks like a vagina, but at the same time it sticks a tube down your mouth. So it's like, I don't know, it's like some weird oral sex thing going on there. But it's using the humans to breed, right? So Aliens is all about getting space raped, yeah, by a monster, and then you're forced to give birth to a monster that kills you, right? As you give birth. And so you've got the whole theme of evolutionary horror, where you yourself sort of transform into the monster, or at least you give birth to a monster. So there's the fear of miscegenation is there in the movie, right? Essentially just having sex with aliens in space. That's what it's all about. So many interesting themes in the franchise. I haven't really talked about the movie that much, have I? I was going to go through the plot of the movie in a step-by-step way, but hopefully you've seen the movie, so you know what happens. They get up there, they get their cryostasis thing, they discover the android, they discover the face huggers, one of them gets bit, they run off, they leave the others. That bit doesn't really make sense, because why would they just like leave their friends? Why would they shut the airlock down and dump their friends on the spaceship? That didn't make much sense to me at all. And they get stuck there. They got to go through the face huggers. The ship crashes. Another thing that I didn't really like, the whole zero gravity thing. They put the aliens on zero gravity and then they shoot them, and the acid is just floating in the air. I mean, that would have been so fucking dangerous. There's no way you would have been able to go through that. So that was a little bit silly. I also thought it was a bit silly how she went back to rescue the android. She was in the lift. She could have escaped. She went back to rescue the android. I don't know. It seemed kind of dumb to me. It seemed kind of out of character. I mean, she was already willing to sacrifice him, right? Because he would have been decommissioned if they'd have gone to their utopia world. So why would she sacrifice? Why would she take such a risk? It just seemed a bit silly. It seemed like they forced that. But I don't know. And as I say, like the end monster, I think they pulled it off. It was a bit weird, but I think they pulled it off. I think it was okay. And I guess we'll get the sequel. Will they land on this utopian world, and I'm sure there'll be an alien on the ship, and it will have killed them in their sleep or whatever. But it's just going to be the same old bullshit, right? It's just going to be the same themes, and they're not really expanding the franchise, and they're not doing anything new. Okay, so enjoyable movie, well directed, fun to watch. It's not doing anything new. I want to see aliens on Earth. I want to see, I don't know, man, like, I was always hoping there'd be like an alien world. I always thought I want to see like 50-foot tall aliens. That's what I want to see. You know, an alien that speaks, an engineer that speaks, and you have a conversation with, or more of an exploration of the whole kind of space opera theme of what happens after Earth falls. And these aliens are kind of spreading across mankind's space empire, and humanity's like floating through the stars, going from colony to colony, and one by one the colonies are falling to the xenomorphs, and they're like, oh shit, this is what are we gonna do? How are we gonna survive this? It's the end. You could explore that kind of theme, where everybody, because this is the direction they took in the comics. The aliens spread all across all the human worlds, and they were just fucking struggling to deal with them. Right? It was a war, essentially. It turned into a war story. So they could have could go in that direction. Instead, in every single movie, it's like we rediscover the alien. Right? You never have an alien movie where the movie starts and everyone knows what the xenomorph is, and they got to fight it. I guess because that would be a different type of movie. That wouldn't really be a horror movie anymore, would it? That would be a war movie. So a different vibe, completely different rules. They're keeping it on track as a horror movie. So, it is what it is. I just think, I don't know, man. I just think they could do some more cool things, interesting things. And that's, I don't know, that's pretty much all I got to say for it. So it's Lovecraft in space, and it's the demons in the dark, and it's the whole like space aliens created us mythos, which by the way has been around ever since like people started embracing the idea of evolution and thinking about aliens, right? People have been saying, well, if God didn't create us, maybe the aliens did. I don't know. I think it's like some inner instinct that man has that we have to have been created by somebody, right? And so this science fiction idea pops up that we're the children of aliens instead of the children of God. It is a new mythology that we live in. It's undeniable, whether you believe in flat Earth or not. We live in the age of, I don't know, man. It's just kind of really obvious to me with everyone blabbing on about Elon Musk and his rockets. It's just, and the Mars mission and all this. It's a utopian ideal. In Christianity, people want to behave in a good way so they can go to heaven after they die. The Jews, of course, want to create heaven on earth. But the American dream is heaven in space. Like, we ourselves will fly on rockets into the heavens, because that's what outer space is, right? It's infinity, the infinite universe. No more scarcity. A big frontier, a big wide open space. We can go into it and we can sleep. We can sleep in space and we can build spaceships, and everyone's gonna be free, right? Free, kind of, because everyone can have their own spaceship, and we'll just be flying around doing the exploring strange new worlds. It's a dream. It's a mirage. It's a fantasy. It's a dream of heaven, right? And the alien is the nightmare within that dream. And there you go. All right, thank you very much for listening. God bless.